It's a rural area, and when we got there, basically it was a house and a couple of outbuildings that had been abandoned for some time, maybe 15, 20 years.
A farmer who lived nearby was out on a tractor, and he saw birds of prey circling, and he went over to check it out and found a body.
It was a young woman, maybe in her 20s, and it appeared that she'd been there for some time.
They found a pair of latex gloves, and they found a library card, and they didn't have much else.
The story of Ann and Jamie. It's a story about someone who wanted friends, not knowing that she would, in the end, be betrayed by that friend.
I didn't really choose to be a writer. I was born this way. My life is a story, and I get to tell it the way I see it.
Jamie Dennis was adopted by a couple in Duluth after she was born to a single woman who gave her up.
Some people read to escape from life, but I write to escape from mine.
Her preferred way of spending her days was to be locked up in a room writing in journals and diaries.
Jamie went to school at Bemidji State.
I had big plans. College, the military, maybe a career in law enforcement. But after I had my first child, those plans had to wait. Enter Michael, the man of my dreams.
Michael and I would go to a bar that would have karaoke nights, and that's where we met Jamie for the first time.
Most guys would look at someone with a kid and take off running. But not Michael. He loved my daughter like she was his own. And within a year, we had another baby girl together. I still tried to keep up with writing stories, but it wasn't easy with Michael and the kids.
Across the hall from them in this building where they had this apartment lived the Forness family.
How could I know that the family across the hall would end up changing my life?
And my life, too. I grew up right here in Fargo, in a big, loving family. I know I was a handful at times.
She had blonde hair and blue eyes, and when she was happy, her blue eyes would just sparkle. Anna always wanted the fantasy of the little girl, grow up, get married, and have a kid. She always wanted a girl.
But as I grew up, there was something inside me, something I couldn't control.
The mood swings. Some days she'd be so happy and easygoing, and other days she would just be difficult to get along with.
I found out my problem had a name: bipolar disorder.
When Ann finally did get on the right medication, there was a change in her, a good change in her.
But no matter how hard I tried, fitting in was never easy.
Her behavior wasn't peer appropriate, I should say. She was a little bit immature, so that didn't help either.
I started dating a new guy. Thought he might be the one, but I wasn't ready for the consequences.
When she found out she was pregnant, she wanted to do everything right. And we knew she could do it, but she would need help. The father broke up with Ann so that he could date someone else. And she was crushed.
Ann would talk about not being able to see her daughter all the time.
All I had left was the right to visit her. And I was her mother. And then one day when I was visiting my mother, I saw two girls running up and down the hall. And the tired mom chasing after them? That was Jamie. Here was my chance to be the mother I knew I could be. And I was gonna make the most of it.
Ann seems so great, like the answer to my prayers. But you never know who you'll find in the apartment across the hall.
Ann and Jamie would go to the bar, have a drink or two, or go shopping. I think Ann was very excited to have a friend.
It was fun going out, but when I'd get tired or want to go home, it felt like Jamie would just be getting started.
Jamie had two kids, and it just didn't seem like she cared to be a mother. Ann would rather have spent time being a mother to her daughter
You know, she wanted her baby. And sometimes I think she was kind of confused because she wanted the dad back too.
One night, Jamie asked Ann to babysit for her.
Michael was working that night, and I didn't think anything of having Ann watch the girls.
And then she went over to the motel where Michael was working as a desk clerk.
They decided that they would rob the motel and then, make it look like an actual robbery took place.
Michael was sitting there and Jamie walked in and she had a roll of duct tape. And she said, I'm gonna tie your hands behind your back and I'm gonna duct tape your mouth and I'm gonna take this money. She put the money in a bag, I believe it was a brown paper bag, and there was something around $1,200. She went back to the apartment where Ann was taking care of the children. And she dumped the money on the table and said, boy, we got a lot of money here, you want some pizza?
Jamie ordered pizzas and then decided to call my mom 2 hours later, saying that she's been trying to get a hold of Mike and can't contact him. So my mother went across the street to the motel and found my brother Michael all tied up.
When the detective came to see me, I told him I didn't know anything about any robbery. I was just the babysitter.
To make matters worse, the detectives were putting the pressure on Michael, too.
I don't know if the police were suspicious that Mike wasn't telling the truth or if it was that Mike just could not handle the questioning.
Michael admitted that it was staged, but that he had committed it by himself.
Michael stepped up when I needed him most. We still didn't know what the charges could be, but he had proven his loyalty and commitment to this family. The least I could do was return the favor. So a couple weeks after the motel incident, we got married.
Couldn't believe it when Jamie told me. The trouble with the police had our friendship on thin ice. But when she asked me to be the maid of honor, how could I say no to that?
And they were married by a justice of the peace.
There was an extra bonus to the marriage.
Spouses can't testify against each other. Jamie was charged with faking a robbery and conspiring to get that cash.
Michael pled guilty, and Jamie pled innocent.
Jamie was going to be standing trial, and the question was, what kind of witnesses would there be, and what would their testimony be?
She did say that Jamie did not want her to testify, but she kind of had to.
I never told Ann anything about the robbery. But she knew I was out that night, and that I came home with a bag full of money.
And told the police officer that Jamie had come back with money.
They drove along these county roads until they reached an abandoned farmhouse.
Then Ann started acting strange.
Ann was very unsteady on her feet and hardly able to walk.
Everything was spinning. And my best friend Jamie just stood there watching.
They had stopped at the drugstore. They picked up sleeping pills. They picked up wine coolers because they knew Ann liked that.
Michael had poured some of the wine cooler out. They then put in the over-the-counter sleep aids. Once Ann got in the car, Jamie gave her some of the wine coolers that was full with the sleep aid. But the amount in her system basically could have killed her.
But my best friend had a backup plan, just to be sure. She told Michael that she needed a gun.
Jamie said, you're going to be going to jail pretty soon, and I want a gun around here to protect myself.
Michael bought a shotgun the day that Ann was killed. And they then dragged Ann Marie Camp back to one of the sides of the abandoned house.
After that, they shot me. They went back to the car and got a knife. And they slit my throat, just to make sure.
When Monday morning came, they all were going to court. Ann wasn't there. So Monday night, I think my mom and my dad filed a missing persons report.
They called me at work, and they told me to come down to the Fargo police station. It was the most awful day of my life.
More than a year passed, and it looked like we were in the clear. But there was one more twist left to this story.
One morning, Michael called his parents and said, I think I'm living with a killer. Michael's family urged him to call the police, and he didn't do it. And after a short period of time, they did. The words that Jamie had written was like first-person account of the murder of Ann Camp.
In that diary, it says how they had drugged and shot and cut the throat of a lady in an abandoned farmstead.
She said the murder was Michael's idea, that she was along, but she was shocked.